Hey, deserving listeners, sister wives, let's watch.
What do you think of Gabriel's girlfriend moving in for a couple of weeks?
So I'm not answering that question. If I answer the negative, then I'm restricting them from being around each other. If I answer the positive, then I'm contradicting my religious views. And you know what? The whole freaking family's just throwing those out the window.
All right, that's interesting, that statement. That the whole freaking family has thrown all their religious views out the window. There are signs of that, but I hadn't heard that specifically. And it sounds like he's upset about that. But he's also been moving away from the dogma himself, seemingly. Anyway, to catch you up, so he is going over to Janelle's house, and they're staying socially distanced outside. And Janelle started the conversation trusting that they would see eye to eye and they would work it out. And she started off by apologizing for their previous talk about COVID restrictions when they were at Mary's house in the woods. And she starts off by saying, I just want to apologize, and I am following the rules that you've set out. I'm okay with that. And I just want to let you know that I'm on board and let's talk about it because there's some nuances there. And then Cody just was rejecting her and not cooperating and not being even just a good friend or an acquaintance. He was really short, and I'm thinking, what's going on with him? Resenting? I don't know. And then at some point, Janelle's like, I didn't expect you to be so aggressive with me right now, meaning you're being hostile. You're already starting out aggressive and hostile and angry at me. What's happening? And I think what that says is that they don't have a lot of contact, one, and that Janelle, up until this point, still had hope and goodwill and was willing to play ball. But Cody gave up on Janelle a long time ago, probably for the wrong reasons or something, seemingly. At the very least, if Cody was really interested or open to being in a polygamous family, he would have had a different response here, even if he did have some anger or some hurt or some resentment or something, because she initiated the whole conversation. She's like, hey, come over and let's talk. And then she led with an apology. And, it wasn't like a massive apology. It was just an olive branch on some level. And Janelle has always been pretty level-headed and isn't, I don't think, a frequent complainer at all, even though I think she could, right? So I don't know what this says about Cody. I suppose the typical speculation would be that he's manipulative or abusive or something, and maybe. But I think another possibility is that he turned a corner a long time ago and doesn't even necessarily recognize it himself. At the very least, Janelle hasn't really seen it, doesn't really doesn't know that he's turned a corner. And maybe he hasn't turned a corner in terms of motivation to be in polygamy.
She has her own apartment. She's not moving in, but for the 2 weeks or whatever before Christmas, because she's going to be here over the break. She's got a job.
Blah, 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 blah. Just vomit more bullshit. Vomit more bullshit. God, I'm just sick of it.
So Garrison is okay.
That clip was out of context to some extent because it was just inserted there and there was an edit there. But so I guess it's possible that clip there was him referring to something else. Maybe there was a neighbor that was bothering him and he said that. But if we assume that he is talking about Janelle and this conversation, and we have to remember that those one-on-one interviews often happen at the end of the season, sometimes months after. So we have to consider him having progressed down a certain road from this point until that one-on-one interview. At the very least, yikes. That's a high level of contempt. And okay, fine. If you don't like someone and you don't want to be married to them and you don't see what they're doing in a positive light, then it's your responsibility to figure that out and divorce or go to therapy or pull back or reconnect or something. But the way it looks, wow. I mean, And I wonder if people watching the show, particularly people that watch it from the beginning, if you would wonder that he always had this hostility and anger and was just masking it or covering it up or wasn't revealing it. And that's possible. I think that it's not that based on all the evidence, because the huge question is what is he like off camera, right? And we can't really know because of the high control group that they're in. They might not even know they deserve to be treated well. They might have well-practiced walls up when they talk to outsiders. Who knows? But there's been a number of indications from the sister wives and even from some of the older kids that Cody is a good guy and is a welcomed presence in people's lives. There's other indications of lately that are different, but in the past it was seemingly that way. And so that would lead me to believe that he's had some kind of crisis and he's turned a corner and he's done. And in other situations, he would get a divorce. But in this situation, since he, I think, is forced, or at least he feels he's forced by his religion to never initiate divorce himself, he is either unconsciously trying to push the sister wives away so that he can say that he wasn't the one that left, or he is just frustrated with the claustrophobia of being forced into a relationship that he just no longer wants. But either way, he's being a dick. Wow.
His job.
Oh, yeah, but is Garrison going to really cut his social life?
Cody, he doesn't go now. His friends have all moved away. In fact, I've been kind of started to worry about him because he's a little bit lonely. Like, he's not...
Well, that's why he wants me back now, is because he's lonely, and all summer long he didn't need me, but he was going and doing this stuff.
It's one thing to be a dick to your wife, which is obviously not okay. It's another thing to be a dick to your kids. He's being told that one of his kids is suffering. One of his kids, one of his children is suffering. A child that he hasn't had much contact with lately. The kid is suffering, and it doesn't take a genius. We all knew this at the time, particularly parents, that the pandemic was obviously taking a toll, regardless of the precautions that the family was taking. It was a horrible time, particularly for kids. And I think I guess for each age group, there was a different kind of toll. For 5-year-olds was different from 10, different from 15, different from 20, different from 25. But they're talking about the older boys in the Janelle clan, and I can't remember which one she just mentioned, but saying that he's depressed and that Janelle's kind of worried. Even if Cody has not heard about this, or does, you would think as a father, you'd be like, oh yeah, well, what's going on there? Because the pandemic has been hard for everyone, me and the kids. So what's going on there? That's not what Cody, he starts arguing. What is he? I don't even know let's rewind this. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Regarding access to therapy, one of the barriers is that insurance companies can be difficult to work with. And this can make it difficult for clients, but it also means that for therapists to be able to pay off their student loans and pay their bills, they often have to charge fees that many clients cannot afford. There are various proposed solutions, but until those measures are established, we have to figure out other ways to help people to get the help that they need. Well, one of those solutions that we have available today is BetterHelp. In my neck of the woods, therapy can cost as much as $300 per session or more. But with BetterHelp, clients can save, on average, up to 50%. Also, I often talk about the need to shop around because it's critical that you and your therapist have a strong relationship. BetterHelp makes it a lot easier to shop around because you can easily switch therapists if you need to. So, your well-being is worth it. Visit BetterHelp.com/Kirk today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Kirk.
So Garrison is okay at his job.
Oh, yeah, but is Garrison going to really cut his social life?
Cody, he doesn't go now. His friends have all moved away. In fact, I've been kind of started to worry about him because he's a little bit lonely. Like he's not.
That's why he wants me back now, is because he's lonely, and all summer long he didn't need me, but he was going and doing this.
Yeah. So we don't know, but maybe there's some reasonableness there with Cody that he has been unfairly rejected by some of his kids. But as an adult, as a father, as a mother, as a parent, you have to rise above that. When your kids are being jerk-faced, even if they're 20 years old, I think the older boys are around there somewhere, you have to suck it up and say, look, they're kids, and there's a higher calling here. And okay, they're being jerk faces to me. There's a degree, there's a spectrum, but we all understand that, say, when your 3-year-old is being a jerk face to you because they don't want to go down for a nap or something, or they want that toy at the store and you're not buying it for them, and they're throwing a tantrum and they're saying, I hate you. We all understand we don't take that personally, right? Hopefully. And even if it's hurtful, and it certainly can be, that we don't act like they're a peer of ours or a spouse that's saying they hate us, that they're kids and they're allowed to have those kinds of experiences because they're not mature yet, and they need us to at times absorb it. Having said all that, there can I would just want to be very clear, and I was called into these families enough times to know that there can be kids that can absolutely be abusive to their parents, even at a young age, and the parents are not to blame, seemingly. And sometimes it just happens, and those parents in those in those extreme very rare situations would sacrifice themselves, and I would tell them that they shouldn't have to do that. This isn't a typical parenting situation where you're just like, well, they're my kid anyway. But in this situation, without knowing any more detail, and given Cody's rigidity and rejection and callousness with everyone, I think including Robin, the way Robin talks, I don't think she's doing well, then I'm going to take a guess and say that maybe one of the kids, because if I remember right, the Janelle kids could be a little fiery at times and opinionated or something. And so I could see them being hurtful, but you would just hope that Cody would be the adult and the father and rise above it and say that at the end of the day, he's still the father and he's going to suck it up, and he'll go to his therapist or to his sister wives and get support and vent to them. But in front of the kids, he will be loving and consistently there. And a lot of times that's probably what's happening, is that the kids are, sometimes kids are just prioritizing differently and they're just like, get away from me, parents, But I wouldn't be surprised if this situation was started by Cody being a jerk face and rigid and callous about the rules and rejecting and abandoning or neglectful. And then Janelle's kid is just like, well, screw him. I could see that happening. Because in the past, when all the kids were younger, they really valued Cody. And I wondered if that was because Cody is a good father, or the whole family worships him because he, by definition, is the only special one. And there's a lot of kids and there's a lot of wives, but there's only one dad, there's only one husband. So I wondered if this is just some kind of, and we can imagine the genesis of this with Joseph Smith and all those folks, that this is just some literal narcissistic practice of having your ego boost because you are so insecure that you need to have your own children and wives worship you and you can't compete. Anyway, I'm not even joking. Look into the history. Anyway, so, Cody. So maybe this is his initial reaction, and then he'll say, but what's going on with him? You say you're worried about him. What's happening?
Best.
Janelle, but it's not fair to me.
I think the truth is somewhere in between. It's not as bleak as you think it was.
Yeah, but still, my point is, this is not fair to me and you and our life that we're supposed to be able to have with our kids that are supposed to be at home. Whatever happened to Team Brown? And I don't want to sit here and alienate my children with with what they think is stupid. And I'm frankly tired of their criticism of my standards.
Yeah. A long time ago, I was thinking, Cody, you're the father, you're the husband. You have to, even if you want to stick to these rules, you've got to try to work it out. Put in the effort, show some warmth, effort. There's zero. It's just, here's the rules. Oh, you're not going to follow them? Fuck you. That's a nice version of what's happening. And there's been so much opportunity on camera, God knows what's going off camera, for him to go, okay, this can't be how we live as a family. This can't be what's happening. So I've got to try to bridge the gap somehow, emotionally at the very least. He's not doing that. And yikes. At the very least, for the kids' sake. They can all divorce each other. All the adults have that, I hope, have that freedom. And so, and they talk about it like they do. Like Mary has said, yeah, I understand that I can leave, but I don't want to. This is an intention. A lot of people are telling me I should leave, but I'm intentionally staying because I committed to this polygamy and I'm going to stick with it. So, everyone has their reasons. But the kids, they're stuck with the parents that they have, and they're stuck with Cody as the father, and yikes, what he's doing. Yikes.
And I've already sacrificed so much for 7 months that I feel like, what, do I just drop my pants now and go, oh, I'm not going to fight anymore to keep my family healthy? And what I've tried to do is I've tried to lead by example by doing this at this level and let everybody else choose what they do, but then actually have the consequences. And it looks to me like nobody really cares if I'm at home. We really are kind of responsible to each other.
Okay, so I keep looking for the humanity, which I assume is there with Cody. You can dislike him if you dislike him, but he's not a psychopath. There's no evidence of that. He's a human being, and even psychopaths are human beings, but they're particular human beings. So there's a relatable core there, and we all understand that there's toxic masculinity. We all understand there's pain and there's lack of self-awareness and all. Anyway, so where's the humanity? And he just said something that might reveal some humanity in him, in that he's saying he laid out the rules, and a lot of people didn't want to follow the rules, and he interpreted it and is continuing to interpret it as, oh, you don't want to see me. Because that was the initial conversation of, okay, so what we're going to do is we're all going to follow the precautions, and we're going to be very careful, and I don't want to spread the virus. But, you could imagine how it could begin with some flexibility and with some reasonableness in those initial weeks. And pretty quickly he realized, oh, they're not following the protocol. At the very least, it's possible that one of the factors in them not following the rules is because they don't care about me coming over, because that's the difference here. If they follow the rules, I'll come over to the house, and gladly. If they don't, then I can't. So if they're not, then maybe they don't even care about me being over. And I've been getting a lot of flack from some of the sister wives. I don't think from Janelle, though. So there's that. And so if they don't want me over, then I don't want to bother them with my presence. I think there's a possibility he might be generalizing his experiences with Christine to Janelle, because Christine has said many times, even on camera, that she doesn't like him coming over and that he stresses her out. But I don't think that's true about Mary or Janelle at all. So maybe he's just like, well, they probably all feel that way or something. Because in the past they would kind of joke around that topic of, oh, Cody, when he comes in, he's just whirlwind and, he's bothersome. But, we love him, that kind of attitude. So I wonder if but anyway, he just said that. He just said, they don't follow the rules, which tells me they don't want me over. Or he's just choosing to say that because he just wants out. All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself, truly, because you deserve it. You really, really do.